When you think about Thanksgiving, what comes to mind? Indians, pilgrims, turkey, cranberry sauce, etc., etc. Why do we as Americans celebrate this most official national holiday? What do the Native Americans think about Thanksgiving? Did the Pilgrims and the Indians celebrate together? And if so, why was there a genocide of 10 to 30 million Native Americans by the hands of the colonists and Puritans? Why are we not taught about the colonist genocide of the Native Americans in our schools? Is it because Thanksgiving won't look so appealing? Or is it that we are trying to hide the atrocious crimes that the forefathers committed against the Native American tribes? Why don't they tell us that after the Indians taught the colonists everything they knew about surviving in America, the colonists turned around and massacred millions and millions of Indian men, women, and children? This is the version of the Thanksgiving story that was handed down and that is being taught in schools, brainwashing our youth.
The American tradition. After some exploring, the Pilgrims chose the land around Plymouth Harbor for their settlement. Unfortunately, they had arrived in December and were not prepared for the New England winter. However, they were aided by friendly Indians who gave them food and showed them how to grow corn. When warm weather came, the colonists planted, fished, hunted, and prepared themselves for the next winter. After harvesting their first crop, they and their Indian friends celebrated the first Thanksgiving.
This is the typical story, but what it does not tell you ruins the perceived meaning of the national holiday. The colonists, along with the Puritans, almost wiped out the Native American populace. The colonists did not like the Indians. They saw the Native Americans as uncivilized and satanic heathens. These same colonists that left England for freedom and religious rights are the same ones that used pestilence, disease, fire, and superior weapons to kill and suppress the natives so that they could steal their land. Below, James W. Lowen speaks on Thanksgiving and one of the lethal weapons that helped kill the native tribes.
James W. Lowen. Lies my teacher told me. Many college students are unaware of the horrific plague that devastated and significantly reduced the population of natives after Columbus' arrival in the New World. Most diseases came from animals that were domesticated by Europeans. Cowpox from cows led to smallpox, which was later spread through gifts of blankets by infected Europeans. John Winthrop, the governor of Massachusetts Bay Colony, said that the plague was miraculous. Winthrop's letter to a friend in England in 1634 stated, "But for the natives in these parts, God hath so pursued them, as for 3,000 miles space, the greatest part of them are swept away by the smallpox, which still continues among them. So as God hath thereby cleared our title to this place, those who remain in these parts, being in all not 50, have put themselves under our protect." Later, John Winthrop states, "A day of thanksgiving, thanking God that they had killed 700 plus men, women, and children. It was signed into law that this day forth shall be a day of celebration and thanksgiving for subduing the Pequots." Is this what we're celebrating? The deaths of over 700 men, women, and children? Is that something to be thankful for? William Bradford, governor of Plymouth, talks about another weapon that killed Native Americans. Those that escaped the fire were slain with the sword. Some hewed to pieces, others run through with their rapiers, so that they were quickly dispatched and very few escaped. It was conceived they thus destroyed about 400 at this time. It was a fearful sight to see them thus frying in the fire. Horrible was the stink and scent thereof, but the victory seemed a sweet sacrifice, and they gave the prayers thereof to God, who had wrought so wonderfully for them. Professor James W. Lowen states, "Thanksgiving is full of embarrassing facts. The Pilgrims did not introduce the Native Americans to the tradition. Eastern Indians had observed autumnal harvest celebrations for centuries. Our modern celebrations date back only to 1863. Not until the 1890s did the Pilgrims get included in the tradition. No one even called them Pilgrims until the 1870s.
Many Native Americans do not celebrate Thanksgiving. What they celebrate is a national day of mourning in the remembrance of the Native Americans' demise in colonial times. Thanksgiving is a day of backstabbing and genocide, covered with a layer of patriotism and fabricated truths. It is all woven together with big family dinners and family gatherings. We stand with the Native Americans in recognizing that day as a national day of mourning for a people that was brutally murdered and kicked off their land. We truly feel the Native Americans because they were murdered and thrown off their land, and we as African Americans were taken from our land to be enslaved and murdered. Even though it is hardly ever spoken on, but both Native Americans and African Americans have been through genocide by the hands of the European settlers. By the blood of the Native Americans, this land was acquired, and by the blood of the African Americans, slaves, this country was built. The true meaning of the feast: turkey. Yummy roasted turkey. If we only knew the true tradition behind this poultry, we would hesitate to run out and buy one on whatever date Thanksgiving falls on. The turkey represents the 77 million Indians that were murdered for their land. It depicts the decapitation on Indian men. The colonists would kick their heads around for sport and gallivant around the town with beheaded Indian soldiers. It was reported that they kept an Indian chief's head impaled on a staff in their courtyard for about 29 years. Now, this genocide of a people is absolutely wrong, and we should mourn with our Indian brothers, for they withstood a grave injustice at the hands of the earliest settlers and colonists.
What is Thanksgiving without the stuffing? Boy, oh boy, are you in for a disgusting treat. The stuffing we stuff inside of the turkey with all those scrumptious ingredients, well, there's a dish behind that is even more gruesome than you can imagine. The stuffing represents the millions of innocent Indian children that were ripped out of their mothers' wombs. They were cut out and newborns were thrown against walls, clubbed to death, hung, and at times smashed apart. This is a very unnerving and unsettling to digest. If we all would pay attention, wake up, and realize some of the traditions that are being celebrated and why they are honoring these days, there would be a much different participation rate.
Cranberry sauce. It has to be chilled, of course. The Thanksgiving dinner is not complete without the cranberry sauce. That's what they say. Would you want to eat a sauce that is considered the bloodshed of a people? I just want to know because for years we have been groomed to have the essentials for the holidays. It is all just one sick farce. The berries with their deep reddish burgundy color and the glaze of the sauce, yes, that represents the 700 Pequot Indians that lost their lives in the early 1620s on November 24th.